You're listening to Addie's Radio on the Vets on Media Network.
Good morning, welcome, and thank you for tuning in to At Ease Radio. I'm Jesse Garrettson, and today we have a fantastic show. We are off to kind of a late start, having some technical difficulties, and we're going to have to call in with Stevie Ann again, and unfortunately we cannot figure out the Google Plus thing, so but we'll get that eventually, and we'll get that up and squared away. So anyway, we also have Matt Schwab back, and it has been a while since we've seen you. How are you doing today?
It has been a while, which
Yeah.
is a little weird. No, but it's been good. I've just been really busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talked to you, I guess a little over a week ago, and then I drove down to San Antonio for 4 or 5 days or so to get a bunch of stuff out of a storage unit. My girlfriend and I just moved into a house, so that's what I've been up to like the last 2 weeks, and so moving, road tripping, various film gigs. It's been life in the fast lane.
And weren't you also a camp counselor at a zombie camp?
Yes, I was, and that was terrible.
Was it really? It sounds like it'd be so fun. What?
Well, I mean, it was fun. The camp itself was fun. It wasn't fun for myself and the two other group counselors that I was with. Because we had, I think the grand total was 35 kids, I think. And they were split into 3 groups. But I still don't understand exactly how they were split up because it doesn't make any sense. There were 2 groups of anywhere from 7 to 9 kids, and then my group was I think we had 16. So we had almost half the camp in one group, which was dumb. But our group was the troublemakers. They were some of the older kids at the camp, and so they knew all sorts of stuff. Just ask them, right?
Yeah. They knew how to blackmail or black market candy and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Our kids were, I think the youngest we had was 14 or 15, and most of them were anywhere from 15 to 17 thereabout. But yeah, so they kind of had their own agenda. Well, we don't have to show up for things on time if we don't want to. So we had to fight with them on that a lot. And then 2 days before the camp was over, me and the other camp counselors and the actual instructors were up from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. because 5 or 6 of the kids in my group were pulled out of their rooms and escorted off campus because they had drugs and weapons and stuff in the rooms. We're like, oh, that's good.
Well,
so that was
they're zombies. Come on.
Yeah. But yeah, they had.
So, but what is a zombie camp like? What is the? I mean, you just get up and dress like zombies and have activities, or what? It sounds really fascinating.
It was a filmmaking camp.
Oh, okay.
More or less. So this was the second year that the film department at GCU has hosted it, and basically, I think it's high school age kids. If you're going into your freshman year, I guess we had a couple kids that were 13 or 14.
Yeah.
So 13 or 14 through 18-year-olds can sign up for the camp, and for a week, you get to come out. You stay in one of the dorms, and you learn the basics of film, camera operation. Here's kind of how lighting works, and this is sound. You get to do some special effects, makeup kind of stuff, and then you get to write a story, shoot it, and edit it during that week. And
wow. That sounds like an awesome camp.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And when the kids are, when you don't have a group that stinks,
Yeah. When your group doesn't,
Yeah, no, like the other kids had an absolute blast, and we had a bunch of kids from the first camp last year that returned this year. And the last day of camp, after we screened the films on the last day, and we had a bunch of kids and parents asking, "Oh, are you doing another one next year? Do you have anything going on like during winter break?" And we're like, I don't think if we were doing anything during winter break, but there may be a camp next year. There may not. The direct thing may or may not sink that, but
Yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully we'll get to do it again next year. But it was the kids have an absolute blast. Then we got a couple of the kids that went last year has since graduated high school and now attend GCU for film.
Oh, cool.
So it's been it's kind of cool to see how they get interested with that and then end up deciding that's what they want to do in college. So
nice. Yeah. Now, did you ever did you ever attend camp when you were?
I attended a good number of camps, but never like a film camp. I was a Boy Scout, so I did a bunch of outdoorsy, go camp in the woods and
that's awesome.
that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
So I did do camp, but not never slept in a dorm. Was always in a tent.
Yeah, I remember I was a camp counselor for a whole summer. One of the best experiences of my life. So much fun.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. So today we have Stevie Ann Petit going to join us. She is the author. We have had her on here many times before, and she is hilarious and awesome.
She's pretty great.
Yeah, she's all around one of the most funny people I know. So she has written the book Farts Are Like Egos, and today we're going to go over a chapter, Silent but Deadly. And we're gonna get her on the line. We weren't able to get up the Google Plus this time.
No, we were having issues with the Google
as per usual.
Yeah. I was gonna say if it works flawlessly, it wouldn't be Google, right?
Right.
I mean, that's...
Well, we got a challenge on our hands, and some overcome.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so let's go ahead and see if we can give her a ring here.
All right.
It's ringing.
An angel gets his wings.
I always feel like when this kind of stuff happens on the radio, like it has to be a prank
Guys.
call. Hey, Stevie!
Hey, Stevie!
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Everything's good.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So what's going on?
So, well, we're just calling in, and we wanted to see what's on the agenda today. Now, we're kind of wanting to jump into Silent but Deadly, and I want you to tell us a little bit about what that means. Okay, do you have a reading from your book?
So the entire premise of the book, Egos Are Like Farts, is the comedic comparisons between the two so that we obviously can learn to live with both. And the idea is that there's many comparisons between the two. And I've talked a little bit about how we can tolerate our own, but we can't stand other people's, and how we often try to find distance when people are airing their own essence, if you will. But Silent but Deadly is a unique chapter because it talks about the internal dialogue that we have with our egos. So oftentimes, we can point out someone else's ego because they're airing it, and it's obvious. But what about the silent but deadly, the toxic internal dialogue that our own egos create within us?
Right.
So it's all about this constant mind chatter back and forth between self-deprecating and self-righteous. I'm not good enough. I'm better than them.
Right.
I am never going to make it in this avenue. I am way too good for this. Screw them. So this is that internal dialogue back and forth. It's not necessarily verbally stated or witnessed amongst other people, but it's inside of us, the dialogue that our egos create and the mind chatter that we constantly hear all day long and unfortunately sometimes follow.
Right. So what do you do now that, like, okay, so you're in this you find yourself in this pattern and you're thinking thoughts that aren't good. You're thinking, oh, I'm not good enough, or oh, I'm so much better. And it's what are some strategies that you have to kind of come into the present?
Well, I mean, one of the best things I think is we have to be present. We have to be present and in the present moment as often as we can remember to practice that. Because in the present moment, we're not attached to what we possibly should have done or what it is that we're trying to achieve. So in the present moment, there's a little less stress from outside, expectations.
Right.
So then in the present moment, perhaps we do have some things that still presently we want to work on. Well, ideally, if we're super, super present and we're just being, we're simply being, we're not trying to be anything, not be better than or we're not trying to be anything, we're just simply existing. In that solitude and in that awareness of what's going on around you, it's easier to start peeling away some of the mind chatter and just being present with what you already have. So I think it's great that you and I have a lot of conversations asking one another what we're grateful for, because that really helps us center our attention around the things that we have that are going well for us, things that we're grateful for. And in that, there's almost this disconnect from ego, because for a moment, we're focused on so many wonderful things that the mind chatter ceases a bit. Our focus goes towards things that benefit us and that make us feel good and that we're appreciative of. So I would say that being super present, thinking about the things that you're grateful for, even if just for a moment, because in that fleeting moment you gave yourself some peace. It wasn't about what you could have done or what you should do. It was about, well, what do I have? Not what I don't have and what I have more than other people. It's, what do I have right now?
Right.
And then just finding that moment, that present moment, to be at peace with how you be, what you are, what exists around you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And what I love about what you said is it's really it's about accepting what is, and that's being present. I mean, because if you're grateful for the moment, right? Then it's, you don't need to change it, and you don't, there's no thoughts that are now taking you out of the moment, trying to, get your attention. Oh, this should be this way, or I should be this way, or he should be that way, but instead just being like, you know what? I am where I am right now, and I am grateful for that.
This is the human experience.
Yeah.
Right now, this is my human experience.
Wow.
And seeing it too, not as good or bad or positive or negative, but perhaps just seeing everything as information.
Yeah.
And being aware of what information it is that you're feeding yourself. Because in those moments of gratitude, you might start to hear a little bit more mind chatter creep in and say, well, yeah, those things are nice, but we still wish we had this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And that's all right. No one's saying that that's bad. However, it's nice to have the ability to shut that off for a moment, or tune it out rather, because I don't know that we can necessarily get rid of our egos.
Right.
Nor do we need to. They're not good or bad. They're just part of the human experience. They lend us information.
Right.
Although sometimes there's excess information.
Right.
Sometimes it's just too much, and we just want to just, not overload ourselves with a bunch of information.
Yeah.
So just being.
Just being that present. So, Stevie, I wanted to ask, and I'm so glad that you brought up the gratitude, because I was actually want this to be part of the show, is just I want to ask you, what are you grateful for in your life?
I have a really conscious community around me. I definitely think that the universe, God, source, whatever you want to call it, has certainly reciprocated what I've given and given me back tenfold. A community that supports me being the greatest expression of myself, which is goofy and obnoxious at times, and I interrupt sometimes.
Yeah.
But I've got really, really a loving circle of unconditional love from friends and acceptance, and people that actually encourage me to be the greatest expression of myself. And that includes my husband and my kids. I'm grateful for having food and shelter and clothing, and a lot that, you know, a lot of our vets don't have, you know.
Right.
I'm grateful for breath. I'm grateful for the human experience. Some days I think it's really, really shitty. Some days the human experience is tough because it's information that perhaps I am not excited about sifting through and making changes.
Right.
However, when I do see it as just information, and this is a human experience, not a human test, it's a lot easier for me to, I guess, just lightheartedly take a new approach, try something new, give it a whirl, be myself, check it out, see what happens.
Right.
It's in this place of curiosity and wonderment, and I don't know, so I'd say that I'm really, really grateful too for that awareness and the perception that I've invited in that this is just a human experience, not a test.
Right.
Because that takes a lot of weight off of my shoulders, and it allows me to experiment with different things. You know, if I see everything as information and I know that this might hurt myself or might hurt others, well, then I've decided in my human experience not to pursue that. If I can make people laugh and make people revisit some of their thought patterns, which in turn will hopefully allow them to reframe what they say so that they can live as the greatest expression of themselves, realizing that they're precious and perfect, well, then that is the information that I'm going to take, and that's what I'm going to use. So I feel really grateful that I have a purpose and that I'm aware of what that purpose is and that I can use it to live prosperously during this human experience.
Absolutely,
you know?
Absolutely. Matt, same question to you. What are you grateful for?
Well, I'm grateful that I now have a house to call my own.
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful that I have someone to share it with. I'm grateful that I have a truck that I know can get me from A to B, and I don't really have to worry about, you know, whether or not it'll have problems on the way there. I'm grateful that I was able to make the 14-hour drive to San Antonio and back safely with no problems whatsoever. That was my first experience hauling a trailer, so I was very kind of anxious about that and very nervous, and we didn't have any problems at all. So I'm very grateful for that. As cheesy as it sounds, like I'm grateful that I get to come in and run a soundboard for Vets On. It was a thing that I know. I'm sorry.
That's awesome, dude.
Super cheesy,
yeah.
But you know, it was one thing I really enjoyed doing in Korea, and I'm glad that I get to still kind of dive into radio.
Oh man, we're so happy to have you on here. Yeah,
I'm glad to be here. You know, I'm grateful for a lot of things, but those are like the ones that kind of jump at me at the moment because it's stuff that's, you know, recent.
Well, that's awesome, and thank you for sharing. I will also share what I am grateful for. I am grateful for you, Stevie, for being on. I'm grateful for you, Matt. Grateful for the show, and anyway, I'm grateful for this wonderful conversation. Stevie, what you were saying about kind of this being a human experience and not a human test, can you expound on that a little bit for us?
Say that again, that it expound on the human experience?
Right, like so I mean, because I think a lot of people, and how, you know, a lot of people, myself included, can get in this pattern where it's like, oh my God, you know, everyone's looking at me, and everyone, you know, like, and I'm failing miserably, and blah blah blah, you know, or whatever, getting into this negative, silent but deadly stinking thinking, you know, and how do you kind of and how does that shift from taking it from that kind of viewpoint, that kind of perspective, and kind of taking a step back and looking at this just being an experience, so that you know, you actually can release those negative feelings. Can you expand on what you were thinking?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and again, this is just an invitation for people that are willing to perceive it as such. But I know that I have found great peace with changing my views of the world, in a sense, to no longer being a test, but instead inviting that it's an experience. And with that, that kind of gives me the okay to go ahead and make what we would label, what the ego might label as mistakes. But again, if everything's just information, then it's almost like we're just conducting a bunch of different experiments to see what happens. And if it doesn't speak to our greater purpose or what we feel is right or true or absolute, then we don't continue to do such.
Right.
And the idea how we get there is honestly just being an observer. It's comical because some of the dramatic self-talk that we tell ourselves, if someone else said the things that we say to ourselves, we'd pick a fight.
Right.
We wouldn't allow that.
Yeah.
Like we would absolutely kick some butt. So it's crazy how we constantly are inviting language and self-talk that, you know, if others said it, it would warrant a fight, but we allow it. We continuously beat ourselves up, you know, literally, verbally, figuratively, metaphorically, right? We are beating ourselves up. So really, it's all about observing. Everything is about observation, and that's what you do in an experiment anyway, right? We observe.
Right.
So this being the human experience, if we can just observe each present moment, because that's all we have is the actions that are taking place in a present moment, if as often as we can remember, we can be present and just sit still, be still, and even hear or observe some of the dialogue that's happening in our heads, then that alone is awareness. That is conscious living, because we're becoming aware of the things that are happening within our human vessel, within our brains, within our, you know, our ethers, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
We're acknowledging and observing what this human experience has to offer.
Right.
And much like we have these vessels, you know, that we're scooting around in, our God pods, if you will, we have these egos that are much like a GPS. They're constantly telling us where to go, how to get there, where we should have turned, where we better turn upcoming. And oftentimes, like any GPS that's, you know, severely outdated, we end up on some dirt road, no clue where we're going, and it's because we were going based on old information that was outdated and no longer served us.
Right.
So the idea that, you know, we all know intuitively, we know if we sit still and we're present, we really do know what it is that our purpose is and what gives us passion.
What makes us feel good. Yeah.
Yeah, what ignites that light within each of us, you know? Right. And if we can observe, too, the chatter that comes in that keeps us from that light, well then we have everything we need. It's as simple as observing it and just going, oh, I am not of those thoughts.
Right.
Those thoughts are happening to me.
Those thoughts are not making me.
Yeah, we say the phrase, thoughts come to mind.
Yeah.
Because they're not generated from within. No.
Right.
Within, we're all perfect and priceless and precious. The thoughts come to mind, and it's up to us to filter through them, find any validity in that information, and then use it for our greatest good.
Right. Yeah, so I think that really speaks to emotional intelligence, and because when you become the observer, what I'm hearing is you can step back and you can really see, okay, here are the thoughts I'm having, here is the feeling that those thoughts are creating in me. I am not liking that feeling. So what if I were to just release those thoughts and to focus my energy and my attention on anywhere else other than those thoughts? And when you do that, all of a sudden, you know, it's just like you realize that there's a choice between those thoughts or feeling good, and so you go to feeling good, and that's the power of being present and in the moment. That's what Okay.
Powerfully present. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, we're about to go on a break. When we get back, Stevie Ann is going to read us a little excerpt from Silent but Deadly, Farts Are Like Egos. And thank you so much, Stevie, for tuning in, and we will see you when we get back. And till then, at ease.
Would you like to share your military knowledge and experience with other service members and help them achieve their goals? Hey everybody, it's James from Vets On. You can do just that by becoming a military student enrollment advisor with the University of Phoenix at their Phoenix, Arizona campus. Military student enrollment advisors work with prospective students who have chosen to serve their country just like you. You'll be helping them enroll, choose a degree program, and guide them through their first class. To qualify for this great opportunity, you need a valid DD-214, military ID card from the National Guard or Reserves, a bachelor's degree, or 60 college credits. Military spouses are also eligible with current DoD ID card and a bachelor's degree. If you're looking for a great career while helping fellow military members, then we urge you to contact the University of Phoenix today. Apply now by going to jobs-apollo.com and enter the word Military Enrollment Advisor in the search bar. And don't forget to tell them that Vets On sent you.
Breaker 19. How about that bandit? You got the mirrors on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. And if you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point. I'm no different. Hey everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strong about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
Hey everyone, it's Adam from Vets On. Are you or someone you know looking for employment? Then look no further than iVetX. iVetX is placing veterans with the right hiring companies. Join their mission in putting veterans in inspiring careers with ensured success. Access their national pipeline of military talent for companies. All veterans are pre-screened for 55 soft skill sets, 800 clarification types, education, experience, salary range, and so much more. iVetX can help you find the perfect job to veteran match. Your skills are based on what's needed for success in that job.
I guess the commercial just up and ended. Okay, well, we're back.
Hello. Are we back? Stevie, are you there?
I am.
Okay, that was
I'm good.
weird. I'll have to talk some smack to Adam about that. That was a terrible end of that. Oh, well.
It was perfect.
Be aware of your ego before you say anything.
Yeah.
Adam, I'm not trying to sound like a jerk, but that was terrible. Just kidding. No, that was yeah. So anyway.
Cool.
Yeah. Sorry.
So taking this from like looking at it as an observer, what is the feelings that we're feeling?
As we observe our thoughts?
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine, I can only speak from my own experience, but I feel like at first it's kind of this, I'm in human form and I'm thinking, okay, what are these things that I'm hearing and what are these things I'm saying about myself? And then there's almost this disconnect where, in a good way, a good disconnect, where I acknowledge that I'm not the thoughts And in that awareness, I realized that I'm not even the human vessel that I'm scooting around this plane in.
Right.
I am something much greater.
And you can release those thoughts.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then there's this overwhelming sense of wonderment and curiosity. And I'm not fearful. I'm actually able to invite and engage and be intrigued by the human experience and the very things that the ego is saying.
Yeah.
Because I'm able to sift through it. It's like I'm just an observer.
Yeah.
And this experiment, this experience is simply that. It's, I don't know, there's just an overwhelming sense of curiosity and wonderment for me.
Uh-huh.
And I don't take things personally.
Mm-hmm. Be joyous. And yeah.
Yeah, like I'll hear, that I'm not good enough, or that perhaps the last sentence that I said wasn't clear enough, just this is even stuff that's going through my head right now that I'm processing, I'm like, well, gosh, I sure hope that I've explained that well enough, and perhaps I should have prepared for an answer like that better. Like, you think all these things, I think all these things, and then I just go, I get present again, because I remember to practice being present, and I realize that everything is the way it should be. And that doesn't mean we have to stay there. So of course I can prepare, and this is why the ego is neither good nor bad. It's just information. So based on the information that the ego has shared with me, moving forward, I will choose to prepare better and maybe explain things in a way that is a little easier for people that are new to the content.
Right.
And that's the new piece, that I'm the new controlled whatever that I'm going to bring into this experiment.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a new variable, rather. It's a variable.
Right.
And everything being a variable.
Yeah.
The one constant being that I'm precious and perfect and priceless, as are we all.
Right.
And so, did you hear that?
What? Did something?
Oh, there's a weird noise. So anywho, my text is going off. I apologize. So basically, that's the one constant, is that we're all precious and perfect. And so long as I have that, I can introduce new variables to see what resonates with that.
Right.
And fortunately, it's getting easier and easier as I sift through the self-talk, and I realize whether or not it serves my greater good.
Right. Right. Does it feel good? And if it doesn't, what I like about it is that it is taking back that it's taking back your power, coming into the present moment, because when you realize that you're thinking thoughts that are not making you feel good, you are literally giving your power to those thoughts, and you're letting them bring you down. They're letting them control your day. Where, if you can look at those thoughts and accept them for what they are, accept the experience of it, and realize that you can let it go. That it's as easy as just like, well, I don't need to think that anymore. I can think about this in a different way, or I can think about another thought that makes me feel better. And then all of a sudden, you're in the present moment. You get your power back, and it's like, and I think that you mentioned something really important, Stevie, is that, you're talking about being in the present, but then also looking towards the future. I mean, it's, what you are in the present is what you're going to attract in the future. So if you're happy and joyful and powerful in the present moment, then that's what you're going to be, in the future. That's what law of attraction has to bring you, if that's the vibe that you are putting out. Whereas if you're letting yourself stay in these thoughts of anger or disappointment or regret or shame or whatever, then that's what law of attraction is going to bring you, and that's what you're going to be like seeing in the future. And so I think that one really, I mean, you're just speaking to it so well as far as what that choice is, and becoming in the observer and becoming present. So thank you so much. What now? Do you have a reading for us from Silent but Deadly?
Sure, I can share a little bit. So, and a lot of this will just kind of be recapping some of the thoughts that we've come across today and shared. But It opens with, I imagine you can vaguely recall moments where internal struggles have played out in your head, where you have debated back and forth with decision making. This internal struggle can become exhausting. All these thoughts, maybe negative self-talk or even self-righteous views, can fester inside and become extremely toxic. Understand that this dramatic self-talk that we're allowing to take place festers inside of us. We create a toxic environment within us, one that is void of pure, wholesome, clean truth, the capital T truth that you are perfect, priceless, and precious, separate from your ego. Sometimes we invite language and self-talk that if others said to us would warrant a fight. If we allow the continued internal thoughts to stack up, misery piles. These silent thoughts can be deadly. Understand that this is not suggesting that we air our egos verbally as soon as they present themselves in an attempt to purify and purge toxicity instantly. Rather, I'm inviting you to simply be aware of each ego's rant, sifting through the verbiage, and once you've given due regard to its agenda, only then voicing what you find necessary to air. In addition, making sure that you are regularly cleaning and clearing your figurative filter, not just for those around you, but most importantly yourself, to reap the benefits of thoughts that have gone through stringent sanitizing so as not to poison your own internal well-being.
Wow. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now, I have a question that I want to pose to both of you. If you are not, and to the listeners, if you are not your past and you are not your future, then who are you? And what I mean by that is how we talked about you are not your thoughts. And so, in other words, the past being just a bunch of thoughts, just, that's not really real. It's not something that can hurt us. It's not something. Go ahead.
I have a good feeling of how I would answer that. It's a great question. I think to think that you were your past is to say I was.
Right.
And to think of your future is I would like to be or I will be. But to be present is to say I am. And we are.
Right.
You don't need to add, the ego tries to add other things on top of that. I am a good mother. I am a good radio show host. I am a good speaker. I am a great author. I'm a good zombie. And, yes, and certainly you are all those things as part of the human experience. And separate from the adjectives and the verbs and the things that we try to add, we simply are. That's a complete sentence in and of itself. I am. And that's present. That is present tense. And it's fortunately present tense every single fleeting moment as it happens. I am now. I am now. I am now. So it's not so much what we were, the thoughts that I was or that I will be, but just always, as often as we can remember, revisiting that I am.
Yeah, I am. And then you can literally fill in the blank with whatever you need to be in that moment. I am powerful. I am happy. I am fun. I am whatever it's, or just I am. I mean, that alone is just such a powerful...
Yeah, whatever serves you in that present moment.
Yeah.
If we're trying to observe and not add anything that would stimulate the ego, then just simply I am.
Right.
And acknowledging our presence in the human experience,
Right. Right. So I think that is a beautiful transition from going into those silent but deadly thoughts and that stinking thinking and like I am stupid, I am blah blah blah, and you're having all these negative self-talks that, of course, no action, good action can follow that thought because actions follow thought, to just going to I am, because maybe in that moment you can't really believe that you're great and that you're perfect and that you're precious, but just at least silencing the thoughts of I am.
Just acknowledge that you exist.
Yeah. Acknowledge your breath.
Not alone. Yeah, be in a place of curiosity and wonderment.
Yeah. So Matt, what about you? What if you are not your past and you are not your future?
What am I?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, I really, what she said. But and joking aside, I am is probably the best answer that I could hope to come up with, and Stevie explained that so well that I can't think of anything to add. In all honesty, I exist probably. Right? That's a whole different philosophical argument, but no, I am.
But it's true for everyone because we all are.
Yeah. And other than that, like I'm a meat sack.
Yeah. Your food.
Yeah. The rest of it is like my body exists, and everything else is just kind of perception, right? Perception of myself and everyone around me's perception of me and my perception of them. Aside from the physical stuff that you can say, that's this is your arm, this is your leg, whatever. The rest of it, I don't know. It's all figurative.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff to think about. And so should the listeners, but we're gonna take a quick break, I think, because we're running a little over. But you know what? It's been good, so we'll just roll with it.
We are. Thanks. Well, you are listening to At Ease.
Would you like to share your military knowledge and experience with other service members and help them achieve their goals? Hey everybody, it's James from Vets On. You can do just that by becoming a military student enrollment advisor with the University of Phoenix at their Phoenix, Arizona campus. Military student enrollment advisors work with prospective students who have chosen to serve their country just like you. You'll be helping them enroll, choose a degree program, and guide them through their first class. To qualify for this great opportunity, you need a valid DD-214, military ID card from the National Guard or Reserves, a bachelor's degree, or 60 college credits. Military spouses are also eligible with current DoD ID card and a bachelor's degree. If you're looking for a great career while helping fellow military members, then we urge you to contact the University of Phoenix today. Apply now by going to jobs-apollo.com and enter the word military enrollment advisor in the search bar. And don't forget to tell them that Vets On sent you. Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in their life. I'm no different. Hey everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strongly about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
Breaker 19. How about that bandit? You got them ears on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. And if you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
Do you need an extra push to start your day? Well, then tune in to At Ease Radio. At Ease Radio is a show that explores tough questions in an open and fun forum. The program also engages hard-hitting issues concerning veterans' physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. The show airs every Tuesday from 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Vets On Media Network. At Ease Radio is hosted by Jesse James, a combat veteran of Afghanistan, so he knows the problems that veterans face every day. Jesse provides you guidance each and every week to be a better you. So tune into yourself each week by tuning into At Ease Radio. Go to vetsonmedia.com for show details.
Welcome back to At Ease Radio. And Stevie, I want to apologize. I know I said we were gonna end it at 10:50 today, so thank you for staying on and for gracing us with your presence today. It is always so wonderful to hear from you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, and we look forward to future shows with you.
Sounds good. I'll be in touch, you guys.
Okay. Have a wonderful day.
See you.
All right.
Okay.
What's up, man?
Not much. Just hanging out, doing my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need to get Stevie like in the studio more.
I know.
What's up with that?
Well, it's just a matter of like I think it's a long distance thing, and yeah. I mean, I want her like on here all the time because she's just amazing.
She's pretty great.
Yeah.
So, just I don't know, man. I always have a hard time thinking of like what to follow up with after we're done talking with Stevie, because it's some deep, like really thought-provoking stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like my brain is just like so stuck trying to process all of it.
Yeah.
That I'm just kind of
stumbling over your words. So what do you think is your biggest learning today, or your biggest thing that you're thinking about? What's on your mind?
I think probably the last bit that we talked about right before we went to the break, with the whole, what are you, I guess,
Yeah.
You're not really your past, you're not really your future, you just are.
Yeah.
And I'd never thought about that, but that's kind of I don't know, that's a whole question that, you could take an afternoon and just sit down and really think about it, and you think about it for ages and probably still not come to the bottom of it. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like that's a loaded question. Like that's some Buddhism level, like sit down and think about it for a while under a tree. Kinda,
yeah.
That's I don't know.
Yeah.
But I like it.
So let me ask you, man. So if you are not your past and you are not your future, who are you in this moment? Who are you right now?
It's hard to answer that without I don't know. I am in this moment, I am a board operator.
All right. What physical sensations are going through your body?
I am itchy.
Yes.
I don't know. I am happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
am. I'm lost in thought, I guess, would be another.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if that even really qualifies as an answer, but.
Well, okay. So what are the thoughts?
I'm thinking about, your question, who/what am I? I'm thinking about stuff I have going on later today. I'm thinking about, good Lord, I wish I would stop being itchy all morning. It's been driving me nuts.
Yeah.
I wish, or I'm thinking about, everything that's going on later this week. I'm thinking about all the stuff I still need to get done at home. I'm thinking about, my parents and what they're doing over where they're at. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like this never-ending kind of barrage of just stuff that occupies my brain, I guess. There's a lot of stuff to think about.
Yeah.
And as nice as it is, I mean, I love thinking. It's one of my favorite pastimes.
Uh-huh.
I am perfectly content to just sit down in a chair or lay down in bed or whatever, throw some music on and just stare at the ceiling or the wall or the floor or whatever and just think.
And think good thoughts. Think That's what I love about what you're saying. Stevie's we probably hung up on her too quick because she's got some really good stuff that she's saying. She's perhaps what negative self-talk, okay, like, and how do you reframe negative self-talks? Perhaps I am is the bottom of it. I am being, I am precious, I am unique, I am perfect. Yes, lost in thought because you find yourself in simply being. What if you just stopped thinking and just existed as an observer? Observe the barrage of stuff around you. So, and I think what you're saying as far as like just listening to music and just kind of being lost in thought, and then stepping back and even observing the person that's having the thoughts, or the, you know, and then observing the feelings and the physical sensations and kind of like, and the breath. I mean, you know, and then okay, what's what, like, what's making me feel good? What's good to feel about in this, to think about in this second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, some of my favorite stuff to think about is the kind of the more I think existential is maybe the word I'm looking for, but just I like thinking about the nature of things.
Yeah.
You know, is man inherently good or inherently evil? Is there some higher power, and if so, what is their, not like what's their purpose, but like what is their status? What do they do?
Yeah.
You know, is there a personal relationship between us and them in their mind, or is that something that we've kind of come up with to make ourselves comfortable, I guess, which isn't a bad thing. Just to throw that out there. You know, what's my place in the universe?
Yeah.
I like to think about.
And what do you think about? I mean, and these are you are posing excellent questions, and I think part of it is losing yourself in the question, or being able to stay in the question. And so I love that.
Yeah.
That you are, you know, and because there are really no right or wrong answers in these situations. I don't, you know, I'm not going to take that position.
But I agree.
But it's really fun to talk about. So what do you think are some of your answers, or some of your thoughts on those questions?
You know, anytime I end up getting into this kind of conversation with people, for the most part, the way I end up looking at things are typically received as just being very dark and kind of dismal, and they're like, well, that's really depressing. Why would you think that, or want to think that? And, you know, and that's cool. I have no issues with that. You know, the way I look at things is not the way that everybody else wants to look at things. And, you know, it's kind of, it can be the same the other way around. I don't necessarily agree with everybody. I don't think it's reasonable to expect everybody to agree with each other all the time. But I like sharing my thoughts on things, and also hearing what other people have to say.
Yeah.
Because I think the more that we can glean from each other, whether it's just from life experiences that we've had, or just kind of conclusions that we might have come to, or ideas that we've had, I like to think that these, you know, viewpoints all kind of make for more rounded, or more well-rounded, more cultured people and cultures, I guess.
Yeah.
But like the big one, because of course GCU, where I spent the last 2 years of my college career and got my bachelor's from, is a Christian university.
Right.
So as you can imagine, most of the students there are Christian, and have some kind of, you know,
some kind of
basis therein, right, faith-wise. Mm-hmm. And so inevitably this conversation would come up, and people would just assume that you're, you know, Christian, all this other stuff. And so usually when people would ask, oh, it's, you know, what do you think? I was raised in a Christian home. My family is, I think by title, we're Baptist, but being military, moving all over the place, it was just kind of generic, no title Christianity. We had one because apparently you need one. So I learned a lot that way. But as I got older and I started kind of thinking through a lot of this stuff for myself, I actually found that I am more comfortable, and I don't take comfort in the idea of an afterlife at all.
Yeah.
Whether it's the biblical perception of an afterlife or an afterlife from any other kind of culture. The closest one I think that I can relate to somewhat is a Buddhist look at it, where you keep, of course they have reincarnation, right? You continue to come back, but eventually, I believe it's like once you reach this level of perfection, you do all the good that you possibly can, and you become like, once you reach your highest level of existence, you reach nirvana, which is non-being. You just you cease to exist. Like that's the ultimate goal, is to cease existing. And I kind of like the idea of just, I live my time here and I live it to the fullest that I can. And then after that, it's just, stick my body in a box, bury it in the ground, and just that be the end of it. It's hard to explain why I like that idea, but I guess kind of the closest thing I've got to it, or to an explanation, is that like it's motivating to just go out and do what I want while I'm here and do it like to the fullest that I can. Like this is the time I have here.
Every moment.
Right. You appreciate every moment that much more, because so far I've had 23 years and some change. I don't know how much longer that's going to last, and that's scary to a lot of people, right? I think the idea of our own death is also it's a heavy thing. Doesn't really bother me to think about it, because I'm happy with how I've lived my life thus far. Sure, I made some mistakes, and I've got a couple things that I regret doing, and I would, if I could go back and do them over again, I might. But that said, they've also helped shape me as a person into being who I am, and so I don't know that I necessarily would go back and do things over. But I'm comfortable with who I am as a person, and how I treat those around me, how I perceive myself and people around me. I don't know, like I'm happy with where I'm at for the most part. I'd like to do some other things later down the line, but I'm happy with where I'm at. And if I don't know.
Yeah.
If I ended tomorrow, I'll be all right.
What I really love about what you're just saying is, I think that it's really an interesting look at death. I think it's a really, it's one of those things that people don't want to, and I think that there are a few different forms of death. I think there's, the death, physical death. There's emotional death, of the fear of being hurt, the fear of being hurt or rejected by somebody. And then there's intellectual death, which is the fear of being wrong. So you're trying to like always, if you're one of these people who's like always right, and everybody else is wrong, then I think there's a possible fear of you being wrong, because I think in our culture, we've been programmed to believe that our survival depends on us being right. Yeah. And so I think that look at that death of how am I behaving, because that really does kind of bring you into the moment of how am I behaving in this moment, or how am I behaving in a way that is honoring this present moment, and that is honoring this life right now and this breath right now. And if not, then what thoughts are taking me away from that moment, and what thoughts can I let go of and let die, so to speak, so that I can come into this moment and really enjoy the power of that.
Yeah.
Well, so that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think kind of just tacking on to you just mentioned, a fear of being wrong or making mistakes.
Yeah.
That's that's just a cultural thing, I think. I mean, a lot of people, you don't like being wrong, right? Because you can feel dumb. You could feel inferior to someone else if they're like, well, actually, no, this is how it actually is.
Yeah.
Because people can have a tendency to talk down to you if you're wrong.
Right.
Like, I am intellectually superior to you.
Right.
So just don't voice an opinion or share anything anymore.
Right.
And I think that's a problem that I would like to see resolved. I think it's something that you learn in school, right? I mean, you are never more fearless in life than you are in like preschool, kindergarten, first grade, because you haven't been taught that mistakes are a bad thing for the most part. I mean, you learn it some through your parents or whatever, but parents are typically, or at least in my experience they were, forgiving, right? You're a young child, you don't know much of anything, you make a mistake, and it's like, oh, well, that's wrong, but that's okay because you didn't know. You just got to do this from now on. Oh, okay, fine. But as you get into school and you start learning that you're punished for making mistakes.
Yeah.
And in some cases, yeah, there are some things that you can't just let that slide. Violence and that kind of stuff. But if you're just learning and you make a mistake on homework or whatever, and your teacher makes you feel stupid because you tried, I think that's sending a message that's just totally wrong.
Right.
You learn through making mistakes. Just say
you learn through falling down. Everyone's so afraid of making mistakes.
Yeah.
That or being wrong or but that's how we learn and it's how we grow, and it shouldn't not. I mean, it's a lot of times I think people hold themselves back from their dream because they're so paralyzed by the thought of making a mistake or looking foolish or looking, so being over. I mean, so glad that you're bringing this up because I see it in my own life. I see it, all the time of people holding themselves back because of that fear of where are they going to laugh at me? Are they going to and so not really being authentic to yourself because you're looking outside of yourself for approval.
No, and despite my belief that mistakes are a thing that you use to learn, and that if you do something the wrong way, that is quickly followed by figuring it out and you do it correctly, right? But that said, despite the fact that that's how I think, I am still terrified to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Because in being a film guy, or a sound guy or whatever it is I'm doing at the moment, if you make a mistake and it's bad enough, right? Like the idea in my mind of me being a camera guy, right? And we're shooting a scene and the actors nail it and the sound is great. And everything is awesome. Oh, I messed up the shot. It was out of focus.
Yeah.
Now we have to go back and do it again.
Yeah.
I'm terrified by that.
Yeah.
That now I have screwed up everything else that went fine and we have to go back and do it again because I made a mistake.
Wow.
Same thing with sound, right? Oh, everything was fantastic. The camera move was perfect. It took ages for them to get that right.
Yeah.
They finally got it. Oh, the sound was blown out. Oh, it's too quiet. Anything like that. The idea of inconveniencing other people, making a whole group do something again because I made a mistake, is terrifying. And it's this thing.
So you bring up a really good point, and I want to bring this back into kind of Steve Ann's book and what we're talking about being the observer. I mean, stepping back and looking at that fear, that like, oh my God, what is that? What is the payoff for you in focusing on that fear?
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure that there is one. I think fear, if you think about it too much, can just become crippling. It's kind of like I was told once. You ever watch a kid trying to ride a bike with no training wheels for the first time?
Yeah.
And they'll be in the yard, for example, and there's just one, pencil-thin tree in the middle of the yard.
Yeah.
Everywhere else is clear, and the kid inevitably hits that tree or the mailbox or anything else. Like there's nothing else in the vicinity that they could hit, and they hit it every time because they're so focused on not hitting it that they're, you know, you're looking at the thing going, don't hit it, don't hit it, don't hit it. But your hands are now focused on that as well because that's where you're looking.
Yeah.
And inevitably, you make a mistake and you hit the mailbox, you hit the tree, you hit whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how it works with anything else. If you're so focused on not making that mistake, you will miss all this other stuff that you need to be paying attention to. And you'll either make the mistake that you were so focused on not making.
Yeah.
Or you'll make a mistake someplace else because you weren't paying attention to this over here.
Because you were letting those theaters take you out of the moment.
Yeah.
And not being present with what is.
Right. So I think you just got to kind of balance it. Like, okay, I need to pay attention to this, certainly, but I can't forget this other stuff over here.
Yeah.
Don't focus so much on, this one thing that I miss all this over here and make a bigger mistake elsewhere.
Right. So what is a better feeling thought to focus on? Like in the case of, I don't want to screw up, or I don't want to, what are some better like feeling thoughts that would support you or support anyone? But
I think, well, the thing that I usually use, particularly on some kind of a film set or whatever, is I just reinforce what I already know. In my case, I've gone to school for this.
Yeah.
I've done this for years. I know I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm scared to do it, but I know I have the knowledge and the skill and the know-how to do it and do it correctly. And if I make a mistake, no sweat.
No sweat.
I know how to do it.
The process.
The people around me know I know how to do it, and they understand mistakes happen. We're all human, right? Nobody is immune from that.
Right.
And I am not going to be the only person here that makes a mistake today.
Right.
Somebody else is going to make a mistake and feel every bit a fool as I do when I goof up.
Right. And then releasing that, like being observant of that and releasing that, it's not even about me being a fool. It's just about me learning. It's about me growing from this experience. And about, and letting the mistake actually be the strength and the thing that propels, because sometimes those mistakes, those turns, I mean, those are the things that really are the precious moments where if we're not paying attention, we can miss it.
And I think the other big part to it too, as far as being comfortable, when you make a mistake, own it. Yeah. Just straight up admit to everybody around you, if there's, if you're in a group, I goofed up. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. I screwed up that camera move. Yeah, my mic placement was bad. Yeah. I dropped the boom pole into that shot. Yeah. Whatever. I'm sorry. Let's do it again. I've found that people are more willing to forgive you and let it slide and just move on with whatever it was if you can admit that you made a mistake and just take it. Right?
Absolutely.
Excuses only go so far, and it just makes you look kind of dumb.
Absolutely.
Right? Just own it and go with it.
I found it's more come from a place of responsibility is coming from a place of choice, and we are kind of running. Pretty far.
So we're
but thank you, Matt. That was some great insight, and again,
2 cents.
Thank you, Stevie, for coming on the show. It was fun talk today, and I got some benefit out of it. I got some ideas of how I can take my power back by choosing to be happy now, and let's all choose to just to look for something that feels good in our lives, to look for something that feels happy, to be a little bit nicer to our neighbors, and go out and enjoy the day. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. And until next week. Oh, and if you want to buy Stevie Ann's book, you can go on Facebook. You can also go on our page. We have it posted. And that would be great to support her. And it is a hilarious book, so be sure to check it out. And until next week, you are at ease.